Hey y'all, welcome back. I have two things to address before we start the video. First things first, yes, my hair is different. I just got it cut and colored by a friend of mine, and it is silver, and this is the most extravagant thing I've done with my hair since I bleached it when I was like, I don't know, 12 years old or something. Second thing I have to address is, I think I mentioned this in a video before, but I think I live next to R&B music producers in my apartment complex, and of course, I was sitting down eating dinner and thinking, yeah, I want to film after I finish eating. Literally, as I was like swallowing the last bite of my food, they started playing music in their apartment. I don't know if they're producers or if they're just music fans or if they just play music a lot, but I feel like they're recording music over there a lot. Either way, if you hear like rumblings of bass in the background, I figured I would just try to film anyway because I'm already set up and I was already ready to do this. I was already, in the headspace to do it. So if you hear some R&B, then I guess just, jam along to it a little bit if you feel like it. But this video, I'm planning to be kind of my magnum opus on what's called the glass skin trend. And this trend kind of came and went already, but it's something that I really like doing because I think it looks really beautiful. Glass skin is a beauty trend that started, I believe, in Asia, and it's basically just making your face look kind of as like dewy and, glass, reflective and juicy as you can. It kind of downplays makeup and plays skincare more into it, having kind of a perfected glowy base. You can adapt it any way you want, and I'm actually going to do this kind of in two ways in this video. I'm going to do kind of phase one, which is just like the skincare, the foundation, just to kind of get like the way the skin looks, and then I'm going to amp it up a little bit in the second part of the video, and I'm going to put like mascara on and a little bit of a lip color, and I might bust out a couple of unexpected things here, like maybe some eyeglass, which is a terrible idea, but I'm going to do it anyway. So without further ado, I have a lot of things in front of me, so let's just get started, and I will show you how I achieve my glass skin look. Okay, so first things first, I just washed my face about 5 minutes ago. I used the CeraVe Hydrating Cleanser. If I'm smart, I'll put a picture of it like somewhere, probably right here. Try to put it right there. I thought about just grabbing it out of my bathroom, but taking it out and putting it back will be about the same amount of effort as it would to just drop in a picture. So I use CeraVe Hydrating Cleanser usually anytime before I do makeup, but I find it's just a good cleanser because it makes my face feel really smooth, and I feel like it preps me for what I'm going to do next. And then the second thing I'm going to do is put on a shitload of a hydrating serum. Right now, I'm going to be using the e.l.f. Hydrating Water Essence. This is my, I think, third bottle of this, and I'm going to be using a method that I also think is majorly used in Asia, called the, well, I'm not technically going to do 7 skins, but they call it the 7 skin method. I learned about this from Gothamista, who's a New York-based skincare YouTuber. And basically it means that you just put this on, you put it on again, you put it on again. Usually I do like 3 layers, so I'm just going to open this up. I always just put a little bit into my hand, not too much. This stuff is a little bit thick, I find. I've got my mirror right here in front of me. And I'm just going to start kind of pressing it and sweeping it in to my skin. I also take it through my beard and down my neck. I'm not going to put makeup on my neck, but just to kind of get everything hydrated up in here. I didn't put very much on that time, so it absorbed kind of quickly. I'm going to go in with another layer. I think I got a little bit more this time. And kind of, move it around your face. You can press it. This is also just a really nice, like, self-care type thing. If you're a skincare, self-care person. And I find sometimes when I put this on, if I put a little too much in my hand, like I probably just did now, kind of have to wait a second for it to kind of absorb. And you can use really any hydrating toner for this. I'm just using what I like to use. And I think a few of the things I'm using in this video actually aren't available anymore, but they're just things, my tried and true products. I know the hydrating cleanser, I'm pretty sure it's still available though, because they've recently repackaged it. And these lights that I'm shooting under are really bright, so you might even be able to see how like juicy my skin is already looking. Because I'm going to use this, I'm going to use a moisturizer, kind of a glowy primer. I'm going to use a very dewy foundation. You know, about 4 bottles of setting spray, you know, to get the look just right. So if you're not a fan of dewy skin or glowy skin, then definitely just don't even watch this video. Just run far, far away. Or you can tune in if you want to just watch a 32-year-old shirtless man just rub essence all over his face. Maybe some of you are into that. I suppose I could have made this like an ASMR video. Okay, I think this is my 4th layer, and I think I'm going to call it quits here. I'm going to put moisturizer on after this. And if I had done this in the morning, I'm doing this at night right now, I would have done some other morning skincare steps. Like I probably would have used the Ordinary Buffet and Copper Peptides, maybe a vitamin C serum, and then probably gone in with a hydrating essence. Oh, I think I have a sleep line right here. I took a nap earlier, so please just ignore that. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use another e.l.f. product. This is their Holy Hydration Face Cream. I think this is my 3rd bottle of this as well. This is actually a brand new bottle. I just scooped the very rest of one of my containers out into a little travel size bottle a couple nights ago, and I had this big bottle ready for me. So this moisturizer, I love it. It's really, really thick. Like, literally, yeah, it's so thick. It smells amazing. They have a fragrance and an unfragranced version. Fragrance doesn't bother my skin, so I think I always buy the fragranced one. It smells really fresh. I know some people can't handle fragrance in skincare, which is fine, because it's not necessary. But I think it smells amazing. And I am looking like a dewy goddess already. I also just trimmed my beard and shaved my cheeks in this little chin patch the other night, because I find that makeup just goes on better for me if I have, you know, shaved my cheeks. Although sometimes I struggle with razor burn, but right now it doesn't really seem like I have any razor burn, which is good. I do have a little acne mark right here though, from maskne, because I'm still wearing my mask everywhere. Every time I go grocery shopping and wear my mask. Pretty much 2 days later, no matter how much I try to take care of that in the first place with salicylic acid or something, every time there's like some new pimple on my chin. Love that for me. Okay, my next step, this is the one that I don't think is available anymore. It's yet again, not sponsored by e.l.f., I promise, but this is another e.l.f. product. This is their Illuminating Moisturizer SPF 15. I have used a lot of this tube. Really like this stuff, but again, don't think it's available anymore. The only thing I don't like about this particular bottle is the cap, the residue, the silver residue comes off into the cap, and sometimes it gets on my hands and it's gross, but I just have to be careful with it. This is just a glowy SPF kind of moisturizer, so I guess I'm just sealing in the moisturizer I put on with some more of this glowy one. So I'm just going to pump some out like so, and I always just kind of dab it around my face, and then just kind of work it in. This gives kind of an intense shine under your foundation. So you can probably tell if I move my head, there's already quite a bit of glow happening here. My mirror is right here, so sorry if I'm looking this direction. I'm still trying to kind of like nail down a good format for filming, but my face is already quite glowy, and it's only going to get glowier, so strap in, y'all. Okay, so next up, this is kind of an optional, I mean, they're all optional steps, let's be real here. This whole video is optional, but this is a little more of an optional step for me. I've had this MAC Prep and Prime Natural Radiance base for a long time. This is a little mini sample I got, I don't know, in like an Ipsy bag or something. It's like the sample that won't quit, and every time I think it's gone, there's more of it. This is kind of a similar, just kind of radiant moisturizer type situation. Kind of like, they have a strobe cream as well, which I've never tried, but I assume it's similar. I just put this on my cheekbones, like where you would put a highlighter. So I just kind of dab it in, maybe around my temples. I do kind of the C-shape highlighting situation. And it adds just even more of a little bit of glow. It's pretty subtle. It's not super You know, it's not a super important step, but I think it just, you know, it's something else I want to do. This is my video, so I can do whatever I want for it, am I right? Wouldn't it be funny if I was like, here's my glass skin video, and grab like the mattest foundation I own? Huh. God, I think I'm so funny. Huh. Oh my god. Okay, and then finally we're going to go in with foundation. This is one of my favorite foundations. This is MAC Studio Face and Body. This is a very lightweight foundation. It's very, very dewy, but of course you can set it with powder if you're going for not a glass skin look. I don't use powders when I do glass skin. This comes, I don't remember how many shades this comes in, but I use the shade C2, which I think is a little bit deep for me right now. This is kind of a summer shade, if you will, but I'm just going to go with it. I always shake it up before I use it. As you can maybe hear, it's very liquidy. This is very sheer. The interesting thing about this, if you've never used it before, is it does this thing where it starts out very liquidy, but then it thickens up on the skin as you blend it in, which is really kind of freaky, but it works really well. It's supposed to be sweat proof. Apparently it's good for like wedding makeup and stuff like that. If I'm ever like somewhere really hot, which I live in New Orleans, so it's very hot here a lot of the time, and for any reason I need to be out all day and wear makeup, this is actually probably the one I would use because it's supposed to be pretty weatherproof. I use it on a Real Techniques. This is the Expert Face Brush. I think this is the old brush design maybe, but I just put drops of it directly onto the brush. I dab it, I'm going to show you how to do this in a second. And then I dab it on my face and blend it in. Most foundations I like to use a wet sponge, and I usually use the Real Techniques Miracle Complexion sponge. That's my favorite sponge. It's actually really probably the only sponge I've used, but it's really good, so why would I switch? However, this foundation is so liquidy that I find when I use it with the Miracle Complexion sponge that it just soaks up a lot of the foundation because it's so thin. So I like to use a brush so I can get a little bit more of a payoff and like lose less of it to the sponge. I just put a little bit on the brush, and then I just kind of dab it on my face around, and then I start blending it. I'm not a very methodical blender when it comes to foundation, and I'm probably going to do 2 layers of this. You know, the funny thing about having bright lights and filming is that you'd think it would make it easier to tell where you're putting your foundation, but it's like so bright that it actually makes it kind of harder for me to tell. So who knows, maybe I'll blend this out horribly. Yeah, this is a very sheer foundation, so I'm going to go in with a little bit more. Just kind of dab it around. Of course, I dabbed a hair right into the middle of my forehead. I think that was a beard hair. Alright, as you can tell, the glow is getting perhaps even more intense with every step that I do. This foundation, I do think it's a little too deep for me right now. It's perhaps a little too orange, but I don't really care. So yeah, it's a little, we've got a pretty dewy situation on deck, but I really, really like this foundation. I highly recommend it. It comes in 2 different bottles too. This is the smaller version, which is 1.7 fluid ounces, which is already more than you're getting in a normal foundation. I think normal foundations come in a 1 fluid ounce bottle, and then they have one that's like 2 or 3 times the size, and of course it's more expensive, but I've had this, I probably should throw this out. I think I've had this foundation for like 3.5 years. I still use it somewhat regularly, and it still works like a charm. I love it. Okay, so usually I don't conceal a lot, but I'm going to go in with the e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer. I have the color Light Peach. I'm just going to put a tiny bit on my little acne mark right here and see if I can just blot it out a little bit. This thing has a big old doe foot. This thing is kind of ridiculous. I'm just going to put a tiny bit on here. And then just use my finger. The texture of that is pretty off from the foundation, so that probably wasn't the best idea here, but you know, whatever. I'll just take my foundation brush. Okay, next up I'm going to use a highlighter. I'm not usually a highlighter boy, but when I do glass skin, I really like to emphasize the C around the eyebrow and the cheekbone right here. And this is a highlighter that I really like. This is the Pinch of Color Water Balm Honeyless Stick. Pinch of Color, their whole thing is like they don't use water in their products because it's a world resource, and they have a whole thing about it. I haven't really read up on it too much, but someone actually sent this to me to try, and this is kind of like a goldy, looks kind of gold, but it actually doesn't really, one thing I like about it is that it doesn't have a ton of color payoff. Ooh. It just has what I would consider like a nice kind of sweaty shine, which for glass skin, that's kind of what I'm after. I rub my finger on the balm, and then I just tap it around where I want it. I do it on the tops of my cheekbones, and I take it up and around on the brow, just above the brow. Okay, so we've got the skincare on, the foundation, the concealer, looking very juicy right now. This is going to be the last step for just the skin portion, and then I'm going to move on to the next portion. The last step for skin, of course, is going to be a setting spray. This is e.l.f.'s Dewy setting spray. I'm pretty sure they still make this. Every time I use setting spray, I use about 400 sprays, so feel free to laugh at me as I'm just spraying this like an idiot on myself, but here we go. So obviously the setting spray made this look kind of insane, but the setting spray will kind of absorb and dry down over time. It looks like I just, oh my god, I don't know, just ran 400 miles in the gym because I'm looking so juicy right now. Sorry, my monitor's over here and I keep looking over there to make sure that I'm looking okay. But yeah, this is sort of the end of phase 1, which is just the skin. I haven't done anything else other than foundation, concealing, setting spray, highlighter, and that kind of stuff. But if you want to stick around for a few extra steps, then join me for phase 2 right now. So the first thing I'm going to do for phase 2 is take a lip balm. This is the Milani Green Goddess. This is actually that kind of pink transforming lip balm. It comes in a green tube, but it transforms your lips pink. I'm going to use this, and I'm going to use a lip gloss later to just add to the glossiness of the look. I like to use this early so that way it can kind of warm up on the lips and the color can set in, because it doesn't go on pink, it kind of stains pink over time. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on. You have to be a little bit careful with this. If you travel too much outside your lip lines, it'll give you a little bit of a pink rim around your lips, so just learn from my mistakes and be a little bit careful with it. Okay, so that's on. I'm just going to let it sit there, kind of let it warm up a little bit and turn more pink. The next step I'm going to do is Waterline Liner. This is very, very optional. I mean, like I said, everything is optional. But I have this Prismatic Eyeliner pencil from e.l.f. It's kind of a, I mean, it's called Prismatic for a reason. It's just kind of a chromographic, kind of iridescent. It's right here. It's just kind of got like a bluey purple kind of shift. I don't actually think they make this anymore, but I do just kind of like to let it brighten up my eyes a little bit, so I'm just going to put it on the waterline. Okay, so the waterline liner's on. You might not even really be able to see it on camera because it's pretty subtle, but it just gives this tiny kind of iridescent purple hint to my waterline, which I think is really nice. The next thing I'm going to do is brows. I recently picked up this new NYX product. This is the Lift and Snatch Brow Shaper or whatever it's called, Brow Tint Pen. It's kind of like, it's got a really small tip, so it's got that kind of like brow blade thing going on. This is used to draw in individual hairs into your brows, and I'm not mad at my brows, but I would rather draw in individual hairs than do like a really thick gel or use a pencil or something, so that's what I like to do. I'm kind of, haven't figured out if I love this yet, but I do like it, and it's the only thing like it in my collection. It also has a little thing in it, so you can shake it. This is going to be tedious, so I will probably fast forward through this. I'm just going to draw little brows into mine. Just really short strokes to kind of make them blend in and look a little bit thicker. Okay, so now I've got some extra brow hairs in. Now I'm going to use the Milk Clear Brow Gel. This is going to keep my brows in place a little bit, and it's also just going to kind of blend out if any of those hair strokes seem a little bit harsh. This will just help them blend out a little bit. So I'm just going to run this through. It's clear, so you don't have to be too neat with it, and it'll also add a little bit of shine to your brows to kind of complement the glass skin look. I usually don't do my brows, but I figured, why not, go a little extra today. I also like the idea of, now that my hair is silver, having like a little bit of a darker brow to kind of go with my beard to balance the face a little bit. I just think that's kind of nice. Okay, next I'm going to do mascara. So something with this look that I have to be careful with is that I don't have anything on my eyelids. I'm going to put an eye gloss on in a minute, which is like super extra, but whatever. One problem I have with mascara is getting it on my lash line, and obviously glass skin, you kind of want it to be as clean and as beautiful as possible. So one mascara that I find helps with that is actually CoverGirl Full Lash Bloom. I still don't think it's foolproof because I will probably still smudge it on my lash line. But there's something about this wand, I think it's the short bristles on it, that just make it easy for me to kind of manipulate it through my lashes. Even if it's not the best mascara I've ever used, but it's like the least likely one for me to smudge onto my eyelid because I'm an idiot. So I'm going to curl my lashes and do this mascara. I'm not going to... Actually, should I do it on camera? I'll just tape it and see if I feel like putting it in or not. We'll see. Alright, mascara's on both sides. It's not my best mascara day, but is it ever my best mascara day? Probably not. I also reapplied that Waterline Liner into both my waterlines just to kind of reinforce that color a little bit. We've got 2 steps left for this. The first one is lip gloss, and the second one is an eye gloss. So these, as always, these are kind of optional steps, but the lip gloss I'm going to use for this is my DuWop Lip Venom. I find that this lip gloss gives me... It does kind of hurt, you know, it's one of the original lip plumping glosses, but I find that it just creates this beautiful coat over my lips that makes them look like I mean, it's perfect for glass skin, just kind of like a glass sheen. So I'm going to put this on real quick. I really like the way this lip gloss smells, but I can never nail down what it smells like. It just smells kind of fresh and minty. And I also find that this one mixes really well with that pink lip color that I used earlier, the Milani Balm that turns my lips pink. I find that these just complement each other very well. And then the last step is going to be eye gloss, and I have from e.l.f.'s JellyPop collection. I don't think this is a thing anymore, but their face and eye gloss. This is the most dangerous step because I have hooded eyes. So about 2.5 seconds after I put this on, it's going to start creasing in my eyes, but I figured it would be a fun step to try. So it looks like this. It's got kind of a sparkle in it, but it is just kind of like a little gel pot. I just take a tiny amount on my finger, and I'm just going to run it over my eyelids. This is also likely to wreck if you have eyeshadow on. It might wreck your mascara, but I think it's just kind of a fun thing to do. And just get another tiny amount. Just dab it on the other lid. This is kind of takes it into like avant-garde territory, a little bit editorial, but it's something fun to do. Yeah, and if you're feeling really fancy, you can just like pop a little bit on the cheekbones, you know, to add our 15th layer of something on the cheekbones, right? But it's not really necessary. It's just, you know, something to try for fun. And last but not least, I'm going to throw some more setting spray on because I just can't help myself. Alright, so this is my glass skin look. I went through a lot of skincare steps, did the basic sort of just foundation and skincare only kind of glass skin look, And now I've added mascara, waterline liner, lip gloss, and an eye gloss to it, and some brows, of course. So this is what it looks like. I really like this look. It is kind of silly, it's kind of editorial, but this is very sort of in fashion now and then. I think people still search for these tutorials on YouTube all the time, so hey, if you found this video by searching for like a men's glass skin look, then hey, thanks for sticking around. If you're just a regular subscriber, thanks for watching. And also, I kind of wanted this to be like kind of like a touchstone video for me, where give or take a few products that kind of come and go, this video will never really go out of date. Like, I don't really see myself doing anything different for my glass skin look now than I do in the future. I might swap out a lip gloss, I might swap out maybe a primer or something, but more or less, these are always going to be kind of the same steps. This process is very dependent on skincare, so it's important to, you know, really prep your skin for a good glass skin application, and then use your products very thoughtfully. You know, it's obviously, it's not everybody's cup of tea. This is very glowy, it's kind of silly. Pretty sure this gloss is already creasing in my hooded eyes, but whatever, we're just doing it for fun. Alright, so that's it for the video. I appreciate you spending your time with me today. I hope you're having a good day, a good evening, a good morning, a good 4 a.m. whenever you're watching this video. That's probably what I'm doing at 4 a.m. is watching YouTube videos. So I hope you found this insightful, even if you don't follow every step, or even if you don't follow any of the steps. Maybe this will just sort of inspire you to try something like this in the future, or to adapt these steps maybe into any kind of skincare routine or makeup or glass skin routine you're doing. So I appreciate you watching. It really means a lot to me. I never know how to sign off these videos. I'm just going to keep turning my head so that way you can see how shiny I look. I know this look isn't for everyone, but I think it's really pretty. This also photographs super well. Okay, so that's it. Thank you. I need to stop staring at myself. Alright, thank you for watching this video. I really appreciate it, and I will see you next time. Bye, y'all.